And now, it's time for another edition of the Sports and Metal Podcast. We talk hard-hitting sports and bone-crunching metal. Sports and Metal. Because sports and metal go better together. Now here's your host, Jason Voorhees. And Aaron Savage.
Oh, yeah!
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Sports and Metal Podcast. We are your hosts. I'm Aaron Savage. With me, as always, my partner in crime, Mr. Jason Voorhees.
Yeah, man, what's going on?
A lot, man, a lot. We got a lot to talk about, brother. I mean, it's always a big day in the metal community, March 19th. Obviously, it's the anniversary of the great Randy Rhoads' passing in that plane crash, May 19th, 1982. So we'd be remiss to not mention that to jump off the show as the metal diehards that we are. Rest in peace to the late, great Randy Rhoads. They were on a tour stop in, I believe, Leesville, Florida. The tour bus driver had a pilot's license or maybe used to have a pilot's license. I don't remember, but decided to start taking band members up on joyrides. And Ozzy was passed out sleeping on the tour bus. And the pilot, first took, I think, Jeff Nichols, the keyboard player, and maybe one of the roadies up. And he was trying to fly really close to the tour bus, like to buzz it, to try to wake up the guys that were sleeping on the tour bus. Rudy Sarzo was sleeping on the tour bus. Some close calls. And when he landed, Randy Rhoads, who was afraid of flying, was talked into going up because he wanted to take pictures to send to his mom. And they assured him they were going to play it super safe. Rest is history. The pilot started buzzing the tour bus again. A wing clipped the tour bus, broke off. The plane ended up crashing into a pine tree and then into a shed, exploded in a ball of flames. Everybody on the plane died. Ozzy was woken by this. Just a tragic loss. And, today, March 19th, every year we remember the late, great Randy Rhoads and everything he meant to the metal world and to Ozzy Osbourne's career. So wanted to start there.
Yeah, I mean,
anything you want to add about that, Jay?
Yeah, he was just Randy Rhoads. Where do I even start? I mean, God, he's definitely one of my all-time favorites. I'll never forget the first time I heard, Randy Rhoads, obviously on the Blizzard of Oz record, and I was just absolutely blown away. I know you and I always, debate, as far as like the Sabbath eras, and you've always liked the Ozzy, Sabbath era, and I've always been a Dio guy. But when it comes to like Ozzy Osbourne, like his solo career, that's kind of like when I personally got into Ozzy. So that's kind of why I was never really a big Ozzy guy with Sabbath. That being said, like, I mean, that record, when I heard that, I was just, like I said, I had heard, obviously, everybody's heard Eddie Van Halen. I had heard a lot of the greats, but when I heard that record for the first time, I was just like, there's something different about this guitar style. Like, it was just, I don't know how to explain it, but it's just definitely, and to lose him at such a young age, it's like, I can't imagine, like, what would have Ozzy's career looked like if Randy, hadn't passed? Like, it's just, it's hard, it's unfathomable that anybody would die at that age, let alone, somebody that, is such a legend.
Had that much talent.
Yeah.
At such a young age. He was barely scratching the surface of what he, could accomplish. It's just amazing. So we mourn the loss of Randy Rhoads. And since we're talking about that and you brought up Eddie Van Halen, might as well have a selfish plug here. Later tonight, today's the anniversary of Randy Rhoads' passing, and later tonight, we're recording another podcast, our sister podcast, And the Gavel Will Rock returns after a little hiatus tonight. We have a very special guest on that show, Mr. Matt Stanley of the greatest Ozzy tribute band going, Land of Oz, and the greatest Van Halen tribute band going, Van Halen Nation. So he's going to be on the show, and we're going to actually be discussing and debating the merits of the Blizzard of Oz album versus the Van Halen debut album. So make sure you check that out. And the Gavel Will Rock. Selfish plug there. On that note, let's talk about Eddie Van Halen, Jay. Both of these guys are in the news lately. I mean, obviously, we also mourn the loss of Eddie's recent passing a few months back. And, the Grammys were upon us this week. And we all knew as rock and roll fans and metal fans that the Grammys were going to blow this. Heavy metal and rock and roll music in general is just a forgotten art form as far as the Grammys goes. It's all about the latest pop bubblegum garbage and just crap. And if you play an instrument, you don't belong on the Grammys. I mean, it's all about pre-recorded bullshit, lip syncing, and like disgusting pornographic dances. I mean, that's what the Grammys is. Anybody that has any kind of musical talent, whether it's rock and roll, heavy metal, classical music, any genre, opera, whatever, they don't televise it. Anybody that actually has a musical talent, they don't televise that segment of the awards. The only thing televised is the garbage that's catering to the 14-year-olds that are just streaming shit and watching it on YouTube that don't buy records, because that's what it's all about, getting millions and millions of streams anymore. And God forbid that there's actual musical talent. And so we should have known that Eddie Van Halen was going to get screwed at the Grammys. So they had a 15-second tribute where they showed his guitar on the stage with a spotlight. And you could look at it glass half full and say, well, it was a great tribute. They were kind of showing that nobody could fill Eddie's shoes now that he's gone by just having his guitar up on the stage with the spotlight. And that's a great point. And I'd like to believe that that's what their intention was. But even if that was the case, why didn't you mention Eddie Van Halen at the opening of the Grammys when they had the in memoriam section and had all the names of all the people we've lost? Why was it saved for so late into the show? Why wasn't it brought up at the beginning? And it should have, and there's no question it was the biggest name in music that was lost this year. Certainly the most innovative. The guy changed the instrument of guitar for forever. Everything that happened since Eddie Van Halen is because of Eddie Van Halen as far as that instrument goes. Van Halen, the band, spawned an entire genre of music, LA metal. And you don't mention him in the opening of the show? Are you kidding me? Grammys? Get out of here. So, after the fact, we heard that Wolfgang, his son, was offered an opportunity to play Eruption during the show. Wolfgang declined. When it was happening, I don't think any of us knew that. So you would think that might have been some sense of relief. Oh, at least the Grammys reached out to Wolfie and he declined. Wolfie declined because he said he didn't want to step into his father's shoes. And I get it. That goes back to my other point. The guitar on the stage with the spotlight. Nobody could fill Eddie's shoes. But again, then why didn't you do that at the beginning of the show and for longer than 15 seconds? And I don't know if you saw, Nuno Betancourt had a great post on social media this past week about this very subject. Nuno Betancourt, and I'm paraphrasing here, said something along the lines of, I'm very disappointed in my industry, referencing the Grammys, how they totally blew the Eddie Van Halen tribute. And he made a great point. Even if rock and roll is not hip enough and cool enough to be on the fucking Grammys anymore, they could have used the name of Michael Jackson. They could have utilized that name and had maybe some contemporary pop star like Bruno Mars go up there and sing Beat It, right? And have a hotshot guitar player play Eddie's Beat It solo. So then you could have implemented that whole pop factor and got a Bruno Mars up there and done it right. That was a great idea that Nuno Betancourt had. Just throwing it out there. The Grammys, they blew it. The Grammys is no better than the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Their jokes, garbage. You have so many great rock and roll bands that aren't in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and yet we're letting Janet Jackson into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? What? What are we doing here? What are we doing? How did Black Sabbath and bands like Kiss have to wait 20 years after eligibility to be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So even when a lot of these bands are getting inducted, it's so past due that it's like an insult. It's they don't even get that right. So I'm just disgusted, Jag. Disgusted. What are your thoughts on this whole Grammys bullshit with Eddie?
I mean, you should be disgusted. I mean, I'm pissed off. I mean, this goes back to, like, I think in general, our culture has just become so watered down. I mean, you don't have to look further than sporting events like the Super Bowl. To me, that's another area where metal and rock totally get, the shaft. Like, to me, I'd rather see, who wouldn't want to see a metal band up there? I mean, I get it. That it's
like the halftime show.
Oh yeah. But I know it's not. Yeah, I'm sorry. I know it's not the same thing. But what the point I'm making is that, in general, the society has just become watered down. Like, and everything is about, like you said, the pop aspect and trying to, cater to what everybody else wants, or the maybe the Generation X or whatever they want to call it, or whatnot. It's an absolute.
It's catering to young minds. It's catering to young 14-year-olds.
It's definitely an abomination. Like you said, how do these bands get passed over and for the Hall of Fame? Even the band I'm wearing, they were passed over how many times? Iron Maiden. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just a joke.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm definitely definitely in the same corner as you. And I mean, Eddie Van Halen, like to me, this past in 2020, there was two deaths that hit me the hardest. One was Kobe Bryant, and the other one was Eddie Van Halen. And I remember when you broke the news to me, like, I got the text from you about Eddie Van Halen, and I felt sick to my stomach. Like, I couldn't believe it. First of all, I didn't even realize he was sick. I had heard a while back that he was.
I mean, he's been sick for a long time.
But I mean, I was not aware that he was, that sick to the point.
Yeah, I agree. It comes as a shock that it was out of nowhere.
It just hit me really hard, and just like Kobe Bryant, there, and those were the two biggest, like I said, that had an effect on me personally. And to give Eddie Van Halen that kind of a moment. I mean, to me, the Grammy should have been, that he should have had most of the moment, because, like I said, what did he mean to music? Not just metal. Like you said, he created how many, like, pretty much every guitarist that me and you love basically came from Eddie Van Halen.
Yeah, borrowed from Eddie Van Halen. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, think about it. Even guitarists that we know. I mean, Reggie Wu, my guitar teacher from Heaven's Edge. I mean, that's his hero. How many guitarists are, Eddie is their hero, and that's basically what he got. Like, and like you said, they could spin it however they want to spin it. But to me, I think, first of all, it's a bad look. And secondly, it just shows you, like you said, that this society is just, the way that they think is just totally off base.
I agree. And you froze for a minute before, so I'll back up a minute. Look, to your point, you were talking about, like, the halftime show, how it's always some pop bubblegum crap artist. Meanwhile, they have, like, these pre-NFL shows where they actually have, like, great bands in concert. Like, I don't remember. Like, this year, I remember there was Joan Jett, and Miley Cyrus actually came up with Joan Jett, and I thought it kicked ass. I think the coolest thing is when you see, like, a young pop artist paying respects to, like, an older rock and roller that influenced them and that they loved. But they don't. Why not put that on the Super Bowl halftime show when you see how popular it is when people go back and watch this stuff on YouTube and the crowds that are there? Like, I just don't get it. And yet, the other thing that makes no sense, you go to a football game, what happens every time it's like 4th and 1 and, the offense decides to go for it? Or like when you see they're huddling up, are they going to go for it, or are they going to punt? What do you hear? You hear, like, dun, 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 dun. welcome to the jungle, right? Or like when a closer's coming out of the bullpen in an MLB game, what do you hear? Hell's bells. You still hear these great songs in seminal moments of sporting events. But yeah, we don't present these songs at the halftime show. Like, we're not hearing "You Can't Touch This" at a big moment in an NFL game. But yeah, we're going to see MC Hammer before we see Metallica in an NFL halftime show. Get out of here with that. It makes no sense. It's
nonsense.
And nobody wants that. The NFL, do they even know what their demographic is? It's beer swilling 30 to 40, 20-something, 30-something, 40-year-old guys. They want to see Metallica. That's what they want to see. They don't want to see Maroon 5 with his shirt off and with some lip syncers and some dancers. They don't want to see that. People that come on, most of the people watching the Super Bowl, they don't even know who the artist is.
Even The Weeknd.
Super Bowl halftime show. I don't even remember his name.
The Weeknd.
The Weeknd. Who the fuck's called The Weeknd? Get a name. Your name is not The Weeknd. Get the fuck out of here. Nobody wants to. People don't even know who the guy is. And they're like, what? The people that are watching football don't want to see The Weeknd. They want to see Metallica. They want to see AC/DC. They want to see Guns N' Roses. The bands that are making $500 million a year selling out stadiums on tour should be playing the halftime show, dude. These are the bands that should be playing that. These guys are filling football stadiums on their own, playing multiple nights a night in a given city, and yet they don't play the halftime show at these same stadiums? Get the fuck out of here. Sorry for all the cursing, dude, but I'm disgusted and I'm sick and tired of it. I'm sick and tired of the disrespect of rock and metal. It's disgusting. It's disgusting, and it's not what people want. But that's what I got to say about that. People are going to notice the title of this episode. We'll move on a little bit. Is Blizzard of Accusations, and it's not just a. There is a reason for that title, dude.
It is a pun.
We talked about Randy Rhoads, and
it is a pun.
What's that?
I said it is a pun.
Well, yeah. Well, we got DeShaun Watson in the news all week. Dude, what are your thoughts on this?
I mean, I've always been the type of person that, innocent until proven guilty. However, it doesn't look good for DeShaun Watson. And, out of respect for, all the females out there that may be listening to our show, I happen to be in the camp that believes that these leagues need to have a zero tolerance. So let's go back just a couple weeks ago to the whole situation with the Mets. It was actually a month ago or so. When their GM, same thing. They got rid of him right away. And that's what these leagues need to start doing, because no matter at the point where they find out, what actually happened, there's obviously always some smoke behind things. If they're, Well,
what you're saying is
yeah, correct. People wouldn't just be making these accusations for nothing. Now I get it. There's some people out there that are going to say, "Oh, it's just money. It's a money grab." It's a bunch of women that are trying to, just get a quick buck. But why does society always tend to think that way, as opposed to thinking that some of these athletes are, entitled and they actually are worse people than we make them look to be, or that they're made out to be, if that makes sense. Because let's face it, there's been plenty of athletes out there that are really bad people.
If you think about it, athletes are people just like the rest of us. And in society in general, there's a percentage of bad people, which just mathematically speaking means there's going to be a percentage of bad people that are athletes. That being said, I'm going to tell you my thoughts on the whole thing. This lawyer, Tony Busby, when the story first broke, he was like putting the stuff on Instagram, saying that he had stories about DeShaun Watson. So my initial thought was very leery because what lawyer goes on Instagram to like post this stuff before they file a lawsuit? I thought that was really strange. So I digress. I mean, I still believe in innocent until proven guilty. I do think it's wrong that guys are losing their jobs before they've been found guilty. That's not what America was founded on. So I can't say that. And so that's where I agree with the zero tolerance policy once something's been proven. But you can't just like, it would be like giving the guy the death penalty and actually giving him lethal injection and then finding out that he's innocent after you killed the guy. I mean, that's why we have due process. So you can't go that route and say, oh, well, where there's smoke, there's fire. He's got to be fired. No, it doesn't work that way.
Well, I'm not saying he's got to be fired.
Let me finish. Hold on. That being said, like I said, in the beginning, I was very leery of it. But as the story has gained traction, I'm starting to really like, wow, I think there might be some truth to this. That doesn't change my opinion that he's still innocent until proven guilty. Due process must happen. There's got to be an investigation. We need to find out more. But that being said, just what I initially thought, that it sounded like one girl trying to shake him down, because the story was that before they filed the first lawsuit, that the lawyer had apparently reached out to DeShaun Watson privately, asking for like a couple $100,000 as a settlement, which to me sounded really shady. And then whatever. But then as this story has gone on, there's been more like stories about different masseuses and screenshots of text messages. The text messages haven't necessarily proven anything. They're very vague. But it's just the story's getting so much traction with all these different accusers that it makes me start to question the validity of the story. So at the very least, if I'm the Dolphins or the Jets or any other team that was interested in trading for this guy, possibly, I'm not anymore. Bottom line is, if I'm a team, I'm staying far, far away from DeShaun Watson. So I think the Texans are stuck with him. That's all I'm going to say. And I think that there's a lot more that's going to come from this story. And I have a really bad feeling that he is guilty. But that's just an opinion. It's just because of what's going on here. I don't know if you saw this. Tony Busby, the lawyer, said during a news conference on Friday today that 7 lawsuits have been filed. 5 more are coming. Several of the 12 Jane Does were hired to massage Watson, and 10 other women have contacted his office with similar stories not yet vetted. The most recent allegation happened earlier this month after Busby first contacted Watson's representation to notify of the behavior, he said. The case isn't about money, said Busby, a high-profile Texas attorney. We have pleaded the jurisdictional minimum of $500. It's certainly not about seeking publicity or fame. I personally don't need it, and these women don't want it. The case is about female empowerment and taking the power back. I mean, in an era of Me Too, we hear this all the time. Who knows? But the bottom line is it's just gaining a lot of traction. One of the things that I found was really glaring is how DeShaun Watson lawyered up real quick. And he actually hired Rusty Hardin, who represented Roger Clemens in 2012 when he was acquitted of lying to Congress about the performance-enhancing drugs. Remember, he was accused of lying to Congress about it. So Watson is lawyered up. This story's not going away, man. So lot to see here. We'll see what happens. But what were you going to say? I kind of said, let me finish. You were going to say something when I said about innocent, no proven guilty, yada yada. What were you going to say?
No, well, I guess you were just assuming that I was saying like, get rid of him, ban him from the league, which I'm not. But I do think that, there's got to be some kind. Well, I do believe that the NFL is investigating it. So I do believe something will come of this. If there is any kind of truth to the situation, regardless of if it's a criminal charge or not, doesn't mean that the NFL can't, suspend or punish DeShaun in some way. I do think that it's definitely, I agree with your point as far as him being stuck with the Texans. At this point, and this is what's crazy, because there's been a ton of rumors actually that broke this week that the Philadelphia Eagles are actually one of the teams that are actively pursuing DeShaun Watson, which is kind of mind-boggling. But, there was a report. Actually, there was a report 2 days ago by Jason LaCanfora that the Eagles are monitoring the situation. And then yesterday, there was another report that actually went one step further, saying that the Eagles have already contacted Houston and that Howie Roseman is basically, quote unquote, willing to trade everything and anything to get DeShaun Watson. Now, I don't know how truthful the report is, truthful or how accurate, but the fact that they're even being rumored to be interested, to me, is kind of a shock. Because to me, I thought, and this is me being an Eagles fan, I thought that the Eagles were, they had just got rid of Wentz, and now we're moving on, and we were going to go with Hurts, who's, obviously a cheaper option, and a guy that obviously has a lot of talent. Obviously, we don't know what his ceiling actually is yet, but I thought that this was going to be a rebuilding, team. That being said, before I heard all this, commotion about DeShaun Watson, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. I would die to have a guy like that because he's in the top 5 quarterbacks in the league.
Of course, who wouldn't? But, really quick, did this story come out subsequent to the accusations?
Came out after the accusations, which is crazy.
When was the story? Like I said, I missed it.
Well, the first one was like 2 days ago. It was, and then there was a report yesterday. I mean, you can look it up. It's all over Eagles Twitter, and that's what's crazy. Like I said, I don't know how accurate it is, but then again, the guys that are reporting it, Jason Lockenfora, he's had quite a few stories before that have been right. I would just be absolutely shocked if, the Eagles are actually trying to get this guy, especially now.
That's trying to get him right now is out of their minds. There's too much baggage to come with it, and this story's not going away.
And that's my point. That's my point. Like, I don't understand. Like, but yeah, the report earlier was that apparently there are other teams, not just the Eagles, that are still trying to get Watson, even with all this stuff going on. So that leads me to believe that maybe these teams don't believe it. I don't know. I'm a little bit mindful.
I mean, after today's events and then what's coming up, I think things are going to change quick. I hate to say it, but the way the story is moving along, I don't want to make the comparison, but I have to.
Ray Rice?
It reminds me of when the Aaron Hernandez story first started. Like, remember when the Aaron Hernandez stuff first started? Now, obviously, this isn't murder. I'm not saying that. But I'm just saying as far as the story gaining legs. It reminds me of that. Like, when the Aaron Hernandez first story started, it was like whispers, and it was quick. It almost hit you like a ton of bricks, and that's kind of how this Watson story's been. Like, a week ago, 5 days ago, it was like, one person. You're like, that's nonsense. And you thought it was just going to go away. And then it could go bang, bang, bang. Now 12 accusers. I mean, if it's true that there are 12 accusers, the police are going to be investigating it. I'm pretty sure Houston police have been contacted. But beyond that, Jay, this makes him a serial sexual predator, dude. We're talking some serious shit. Like serial sexual predator, like major crime, like a serial killer, like a serial rapist, a serial sexual predator. If there's truth to these stories, we don't know that there is, but that's the level. So it reminds me of like the Aaron Hernandez thing when it first started. Like, no way, that's ridiculous. And all of a sudden, it was like out of nowhere, he's cut from the Patriots, and then he's charged in the one murder, and then you hear about the second drive-by. Again, not comparing it as far as the crimes, and we don't know that DeShaun Watson did anything beyond make women uncomfortable. But I'm just saying the story's got legs like that, and it's not going away. I'll leave you with that. Stay away from DeShaun Watson.
Yeah,
anyway, I want to say, Jay, I want to just remind the audience again to check out our sister podcast this week, and The Gavel Will Rock. Both of these podcasts will be coming out tonight or first thing tomorrow morning, Saturday. And it's going to be a great, great debate between Blizzard of Oz and Van Halen 1 on Gavel. Did you have anything you wanted to add, Jay?
No, I just, I'm excited about the Gavel. We've been talking about getting it back up and running. I know it's been a long time coming. We're going to try to make it, a once a month type thing, maybe twice a month. And we're hoping to get, more guests involved. And, it's just going to be a fun, panel discussion on two beasts of a record.
Oh yeah.
So
it's great like to have Matt Stanley.
and I love Matt Stanley. If any, for those of you, obviously we've had him on our show before, but Matt Stanley is just a phenomenal, not only phenomenal guitarist, phenomenal person.
Yep.
A nice, bright young kid, and looking forward to having him on. And just looking forward to more shows in the future. And obviously we just started the new live technology, so bear with us if we have some technical difficulties, like Aaron freezing or me freezing and me saying, Aaron, please listen, or Aaron, didn't you hear me? That kind of nonsense. It's just a bunch of technical stuff that we're going through, and hopefully we can get this to the point where we're, elite.
So anyway, it was great talking, and we'll see you next week on Sports and Metal, and we'll see you sooner than that on And the Gavel Will Rock. Check us out. Don't miss it. Rock on.
Peace out.
And that's our show. Tune in next time for more Sports and Metal with Jason Voorhees and Aaron Savage. Ooh, yeah. Got something to say? Hit us up at sportsandmetal0423 at yahoo.com or on Twitter at sportsandmetal.